Now we're gonna try to see if this.
Take this one off. That should be off. So this mic should be working, so it should be able to hear me. All right, we'll go live. See how this goes. We're gonna do our best to do this live to the best of our capabilities. We have our computer is still being set up. We still got some things we got to set up. I usually have like a startup screen, basically letting people know like, hey, stream is about to start. If you want, go grab a drink, go grab a little snack or something. If you're gonna sit down, listen in, get some information for any veteran information. If you got any questions, don't hesitate to do it. But this way, we just starting it out. We're starting it out like that. JC, appreciate you tuning in, my man, as always. But yeah, so today the plan for today is that we are going to go over what the schedule of ratings is for mental health disorders. So if you are going through a disability claim and you are going to file for mental health, this will be beneficial to you, so you'll be able to know what mental health issues are, what the impact is of it, what the proposed changes are, because that's one of the biggest things that people have been talking about for the longest time now is what the mental health rating disability changes are going to be. So if you're not aware, if we're going to go off of regulations.gov, which is a good .gov site to basically show you where it's at. If you're on TikTok, check out the bio in my link, YouTube link. You'll be able to see the full screen there. I'm just talking. Basically, I am paying attention to the chat. So if you got questions, shoot them out. They'll still be answered. But most of it is going to go through the YouTube page and the YouTube link, because there I can actually show you exactly what it is that I'm talking about. So it's easier for you to understand it that way. Another thing, if you are active duty, if you know somebody that's active duty, these workshops can be beneficial to them also. Good morning, Nanette. This is something that for active duty, if you are active duty, you can still learn from this, because the thing is this is something that you're still going to have to deal with on the back end. So it's not something that you're not going to understand. This is something that you're still going to go through on the back end of your military career. Because remember, you are not serving your whole life. A military time period is basically a shortened career. It is not it is like it's a chapter in your life, I guess is the best way of putting it. When you're in the military service, you are serving and you are part of it for a part of your life. Then you still got another part of your life to live after you've done your service. It differs for people because depending on when they join the service, that's when they get out. 20 years if you do 20 years. If you only do the 1-2 contracts, you only do 1-2 contracts. You're still a veteran at the end of the day and you still receive benefits at the end of the day. So the biggest issue that we have when it comes to military service members is mental health. Mental health is the biggest issue that we have as service members and veterans. It's either you go on a behavioral health, to try to figure the stuff out, or you trying to do it like that. So we have a couple of different things that are going to show people, because most people still don't know what the Code of Federal Regulation is. The Code of Federal Regulation is basically how you get rated with your VA rating, how you obtain your VA rating percentages. This is what they go off of. It's not off of how you feel about it or how you explain it. It's basically a regulation that is in place to do that. If you still serving, you know what regulations are. Whatever branch you are, whatever dictates your regulations, you know what regulations are. You are following those regulations. This is how they go ahead and they make sure to evaluate you. There's rating criteria, I guess is the best way of putting it. And that's how you find this information. So what we're going to do is first, we're going to start off with what the actual rating scale and the rating information is currently for mental health. So let me see if I can get this computer to fucking start working. All right, now you should be able to hear me. This is what happens when your computer just craps out on you and you lose out on everything. I appreciate you, Annette. I was just like that. This is what happens when your computer, you're still having to rebuild everything back from scratch because you basically reset your computer. Yeah, so I didn't even have the sound built into that scene, which is the share screen. So now you can actually hear me. So there we go. Thank you, Annette, for letting me know. But yeah, so you would go to part 4, which is schedule for ratings disabilities. So you click on that. Now, this is the whole schedule for rating disability. This is what contains everything and every breakdown of everything you may claim. When you are claiming your disability claims, there's over 3,000 different disability claims that you can claim. You're not going to get all of them. You're not going to get a percentage for everything. Most things you have to have that documentation. You have to have that information that shows and highlights that, hey, this is what you're dealing with. This is what you have. This is how you're being evaluated for it. So when you go through it, you can go to the table of contents. Table of contents then breaks it down. And if you've never read the Code of Federal Regulations, it's important to read it because you will find a lot of information there that is valuable to you. And it does a lot of explaining of what it is, like how it shows essentials of evaluating rating, evaluation of evidence, higher of 2 evaluations, avoidance of pyramiding, functional impairment, unemployability, correspondence, combined ratings table, which that's how you get your percentage, and that's VA math. If you don't know how to understand VA math, you want to make sure that you are checking my video. I have a video on that already, basically explaining VA math, how you are basically a pizza pie, and the percentages you get are the percentages that you are removing from the whole pie. I have a video on that. If you want to go ahead, check that out, because that explains basically how to do it. Is it how to get back to 100%? Yes, that is also a thing. If you are anybody, if you are an active duty, any active duty service members, if you are going through the process, go to fucking sick call. Go to sick call. Go get yourself seen. Go get documented. At the end of the fucking day, you could be the most high-speed person in the fucking military. And at the end of the day, not one of those people that you were high speed for is going to be pushing you in the wheelchair if you end up in one. Plain and simple. That's as easy and as straightforward I can be with that. I was just like, that's how I was told by Sergeant First Class with a cane when I first was in the military. And that shit stuck with me ever since. I was just like, no matter how high speed you are, no matter what you do for your military service, or no matter how much you sacrifice, what you did, the Army is not going to send somebody to go take care of you when you need the assistance. It all becomes a you thing. You got to take care of yourself. You got to make sure you are going to get seen by the doctor. It's the same thing while in service. If you're doing that, it allows you to take care of yourself, and you have I wouldn't say you have a perfect life after, but if you have stuff documented and notated, it makes it a lot easier for you to go through this process. But then it also allows you to take care of yourself after the military, where you don't have medical to take care of you. You're not going to have medical to just go to a sick call and have a PA and have the medical hospital where it's all free. That shit is non-existent after the military. A lot of people join at a young age, and they join at like 18. They were under their parents' coverage. Well, they never heard of or seen medical bills. They don't know what a medical bill looks like. Once you are in service, it's just a continuation because the military covers all the issues you have. Now, are they going to do a great job about it? Fuck no. Because most of the time they're going to misdiagnose you with the shit that you have. But that's why it's important for you to continue to go to make sure that you are being taken care of. The amount of times that you see people, one of the biggest issues with people is like degenerative disc disease or back issues. Why? You're fucking rucking all the time. You're fucking running all the time. Knees, back, hips, ankles, all that stuff gets injured. It's a wear and tear on your body. Because the thing is most people in the military don't actually know how to actually go through a fitness program the correct way. They just think running fucking 8 miles every single fucking day is how you get fit. That's how you get injured. Your body gets worn out. You don't actually strengthen it. All you're doing is breaking it down. It is important for you to go get seen no matter what anybody tells you. If your leadership don't like it, Tell them to write you up. What are they going to write you up for? For having a fucking dislocated shoulder or having a knee displacement or having a slip disc? They can't write you up for that. So that's something you need to understand. Take care of yourself, because then this comes in handy, because this is where you go through. So this, if you go down here, you go through the table of contents, it'll show you this way and it'll explain everything that way. But the easiest way to get to it is you scroll all the way down, and mental disorders is section 4.125 dash. See, and then you always got people here. See, you always have a veteran or somebody that's in the service that's the supposed tough guy that wants to come into chat and always wants to say something stupid. But then they're the first ones that are always complaining. Oh, so-and-so got a rating higher than me, but I had 8 deployments. I was just like, yeah, your 8 deployments don't mean shit afterwards, bruh. Nobody cares about your deployments after your time in service. Nobody pays attention to you after your time in service. But your first thing is, the first instinct for those people that don't get the rating because they're not intelligent enough or don't look out or seek actually knowledge of how to do this process, are the first ones that are always complaining about somebody that got something that they didn't. I was just like, you big and bad, why are you comparing yourself to somebody else? Shit don't make no sense. If you got a problem with somebody getting a rating that you didn't get, educate yourself on it. If you were the tough guy, put it like this. If you were such a tough guy while you were in service, what happened to that tough guy when you were out of the service? Now all of a sudden you ain't tough. I thought you was the tough guy. If you that tough, you should just be quiet and not complain about somebody else taking care of themselves because you chose not to, because you wanted to be the tough guy. You want to be the tough guy in the first place? Stay the tough guy now. Don't try to change it up now and try to complain about other veterans that actually decided that, you know what, their body, their life after the military was going to be more important to them than it was to you, and you going and making sure that you just made sure the mission was done and not your body, because you didn't realize that the military didn't give a fuck about you afterwards. Some people actually have some common sense where others just like to talk shit. And it's okay. Stay tough. Stay the tough guy now. You have all them deployments and all that stuff. Cool. Stay the tough guy now. Don't change. Don't. Now you sounding like you sounded like a pogue, as like y'all like to say, right? Now you a pogue. After you got out the military, now you're a pogue because nobody cares about you. Nobody cares about your deployments. Nobody cares about all the stuff you did, because nobody does. The VA don't care about what you do. The VA don't care. The VA is there to assist you when you know what you are needing assistance with. They are not there to hold your hand. They are not there to process these claims for you to make it so that your claim is spot on. That's your fucking job. That's your job, to educate yourself. Know what the regulation is. Know how they're rating you. Knowing what it is you have to put into play to describe what it is, the ailments that you are going through. And not, oh, I never got seen. Well, if you never got seen, how do I know if you got hurt here or got hurt there? You could have gotten hurt outside the military. How does the VA know that? The VA doesn't. So don't try to blame the VA for your incompetency. Because if somebody else went to go get seen and got taken care of, that's because they wanted to make sure they were okay. They realized that they were not okay and they went to see it. They ain't tough it out. It's tougher to actually get help than to just act all tough. Because it's easy to put up a fake facade that, oh, I'm just so tough, I'm not going to get seen, I'm not going to get covered for it. But then all of a sudden you're complaining about it. So what happened to that toughness? Now you ain't tough. Now you complaining because somebody else took care of them. Now you complaining because somebody else made sure that, you know what? I want to make sure I can take care of my family because I'm not the same person I was when I first joined the fucking military. But hey, you the tough guy, right? Stay tough. See how well that works for you when you're filing your disability claim. Stay tough. And then and it's funny then, because the thing is what are we talking about? Mental disorders. It's funny how we speak on this, and it's just like those same people that have that same tough guy mentality and want to do that. It's just like, oh, you're so tough, right? You're so tough to the point where you don't know what you're doing. You so tough to the point where basically mental health is what's basically causing these issues for you, where you cannot process it yourself to take care of yourself. That's a mental health issue. Not being able to speak on these issues, that's a mental health issue. You dealing with anxiety because you deployed so much, that's a mental health issue. You not understanding the symptoms of why it is you're going through the stuff, that's a mental health issue. So if you can't go through the mental health issue and actually get your diagnosis and understand why it is you're going through these issues, that's because you have mental health issues. So if you want to be the tough guy, go ahead. But that's part of that part right there where it's just like, you know what? That's a mental health issue. You are probably dealing with depression. You are probably dealing with anxiety. You are probably dealing with insomnia. Why? Because your thoughts and your minds always race to something that left a traumatic issue, and that's what you resort to. That's what you remember. Those are those night sweats. Those are those nightmares. Those are those waking up in the middle of the night randomly because of the thought that were running through your head in your dreams. That's a mental health issue. That's why you need to go get seen for that stuff. Being the tough guy doesn't get you anywhere. It got you through the military. Kudos to you. But now that nobody actually cares about you being tough, you ain't getting nowhere. So you might as well go get seen and stop being an asshole, or stop trying to be an asshole, and go get the help you deserve and you earned, because you earned it through your service. Every veteran does, but every veteran does not go through the same process. Every veteran does not go through 4 or 5 deployments. Every veteran doesn't go through sexual assault. Every veteran doesn't go through domestic issues. Every veteran goes through different issues, and they're all different for everybody. You go through different things and you don't understand them, but then you're quick to judge somebody because they didn't go through what you went through. Why is it that the person that you went through it with isn't complaining as much as you are? Everybody's different. Everybody goes through different scenarios. Everybody goes through different things. You as a service member went through different things while serving. That didn't make you any better or any lesser than anybody you served with. But since you want to be the tough guy, be the tough guy. Stay that way. Don't complain. If somebody's getting compensation and you not, you shouldn't be complaining. Stay the tough guy and stay without compensation. You were so tough you didn't need to get help. Don't get help. But don't get mad at somebody else because they're actually taking care of themselves. If they go to behavioral health in the military, a lot of people would be called weak. They'd be called selfish. You would come up with any possible reason to be like, you know what? This person was not doing their job. Why? Because they were taking care of their mental health? Because they went and got seen? Because they went and spoke to somebody? So you put somebody down because they were actually trying to take care of themselves and their mental health. It was just like, it's plain and simple. It's plain and simple to do that. It's plain and simple to act a tough guy, but then be a bitch on the inside. It's okay. I was just like, that's one of the things that does agitate me with veterans, because instead of uplifting and bringing up veterans, all you doing is talking shit and bringing other veterans down because you were the piece of shit. If you were the piece of shit, it's okay. If you were the tough guy, you probably got beat up before you got into the military. You probably still get beat up now, but you just hide behind a fucking screen or thing to talk shit to people because that's the only thing you could do. Those are the same people that always hid behind the rank because they didn't know how to actually be fucking leaders in the military. It's not that hard to distinguish you. It's not that hard to find you. It's not that hard to observe that you were the problem in the military because you thought you were so high and mighty and you actually didn't know how to lead. So you used intimidation factors, or you use your depression, your anxiety, or your anger because probably your wife didn't like you, because everybody knew that joke. Everybody knew. It's just like, oh, damn, we staying late today? Fuck, this dude probably fought with his wife. He probably mad at his kids. He probably mad at his family life. That's the reason he don't want to go home, and that's the reason he want to keep everybody here. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows it. It's not even an ongoing joke because it's the truth. But that's mental health disorders, because you were so big and bad and didn't choose to get professional help. That's not my fault. I'm here to assist people that want to get the professional help and need the professional help. So like I was saying before I just got off on a tangent, because that always pisses me off dealing with fucking veterans like that. Because it's always those tough ones that are just like the biggest bitches in the world too. Sorry to say it and I apologize for the language, but that's one of the things that pisses me off about it. Because it's just like you always want to act tough, but then you want to complain. You can't have it both ways. So with mental health disorders, which some of these people are seriously suffering from, I was just like, Cam just says word. This is like that's what it is. It's just like, this is easy information for stuff to, it's easy stuff to do. The thing is that you want to be so hard-headed that you don't want to get assistance. If you are dealing, because you remember a traumatic issue that happened to you while that happened, it was just like, people want to act tough. It was just like, act tough. It was just like, you got trained, so did I. It was just like, you don't know the training I went through. You don't know what I went through. You don't know the experience I went through. I deal with depression. I deal with PTSD. I deal with anxiety. I was just like, but it's just like, I went and got seen. I went and got it notated. I went to behavioral health. So when behavioral health saw me and they saw my medical records, they was like, oh, okay, you got seen for this. Oh, you had migraines. Oh, you got medication for this. Oh, damn, you couldn't go fucking an air assault that one time. Why? Because you had a bulging disc and a PA didn't want to sign off on it. Oh, okay. That's all in your system. That's all in the system. All in the system. And that's all shown. Why? Because I went and got taken care of. I wanted to excel, but the military said, nah, bro, you actually hurt. We can't let you do this because we going to fuck you up some more. You want to rappel off of fucking helicopters and you got a dislocated disc? Nah, we ain't going to prove this one. That's in the record. But it was why. I wanted to be that tough guy and I wanted to go through with it, but I didn't know myself that I had that issue. Mental health issues, most people don't know the symptoms. If you are always alienating yourself, trying to just be in solitude the whole time, those are signs of it. If you are having those terrors, if you are having those thoughts, and it's just like, hey, if you deployed, you're one of those that when you go to a restaurant or something like that, you have to sit in a booth that allows you to see the openings, entrances, exits, and you can see anything that moves ahead of you. If you deployed, you are on high alert when you are around too many people and too many people look weird to you. Imagine being from a city that has millions of people and then all of a sudden you can't even be in your own city because it's too many fucking people. You can't even enjoy yourself because you go to certain areas and your family notices you are tensed up and anxiety driven because you can't relax and actually enjoy anywhere you actually go to because you're always on high alert, paying attention to everybody, grilling everybody, looking like, why does this person got a coat on? The thoughts that go through your head is just like, that's all the stuff that goes through there. That's all the stuff that goes through mental health issues that people don't understand and they don't observe it, they don't pay attention to, but it's quick to say something about it. So when it comes to diagnosis, it explains it here, what it is they go through. If the diagnosis of a mental disorder does not conform to DSM-5 or is not supported by the findings on the examination report, the rating agency shall return the report to the examiner to substantiate the diagnosis. The DSM-5 is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, excuse me, 5th edition. Now, what people don't understand with this is that with this is the rating criteria. This is what they go off of. So when they diagnose and they have the manual for mental health disorders, that is the manual that they use. So the regulation is going to show you and it's going to give you the information on it. And it is going to tell you what these disorders are. You're going to see all of these disorders. Once you see these disorders on there, you're going to go ahead and what do? You see which one do you have? Do you have schizophrenia? Do you have delusional disorder? Do you have delirium? Do you have a schizoaffective disorder? Do you have OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder? Do you have PTSD? Do you have a panic disorder? Do you have bipolar disorder? Do you have major depressive disorder? Do you have chronic adjustment? You see how the list continues? These are all different things that service members, active duty, and veterans deal with and have no idea they have. Because not one of you in the active duty or as a veteran is a medical fucking professional. So you don't know how to diagnose yourself. So if you can't diagnose yourself and you don't know what it is to have OCD or what it is to have anxiety disorder, it was just like many service members have panic attacks. They don't fucking know it's a panic attack. They just be like, man, my fucking body just started fluttering. It was weird. It happens every now and then, but I don't know what it is. And then they just keep on moving without their day. Like nothing happened. They just keep it moving like nothing fucking happened. When you always got to have everything lined up. Because the military does do that. It was just like, hey, I need you to make sure your bed is lined up. You see these fucking corners? See these corners on the edge of this fucking bed? These fucking corners need to be legit or drill sergeant is going to have a fucking field day with you. That shit gets instilled in your brain from day fucking one. For some people, it gets worse where everything has to be lined up. Shoes got to be lined up. Underwear got to be lined up. Socks got to be lined up. Uniform got to be lined up. The clothes you wear got to be lined up. All that shit got to be in order and you continue it. And then the thing is some people differentiate it and they separate it from their times in service. Some people, it filters into their daily life where everything they do has to be methodically in order or they lose it. That's OCD. But you're not going to get diagnosed with that because you just think that's you just being you and making sure everything is tidy, everything is left, right, everything is fucking color coordinated, in size order, in fucking like most people don't understand that. That's OCD. But you've had this and you just thought, oh, this is just me being in the military. No, you got OCD. That is an issue. That is a mental health disorder. You are not supposed to be freaking the fuck out because you saw that the blue sock was on top of the fucking white sock. And people just think it's okay. No, that's not fucking normal. You're not supposed to have a panic attack because you saw the wrong size was fitted into the wrong section of where you put it out to. That's not normal. That is OCD. If you got major depressive disorder, that one is hard to explain. Because you know why? Some of the most happiest people are some of the ones that are the most depressed. So sometimes you can't see the telltale signs of that mental health disorder, of that depression. You can't understand that and you can't see that. And there's no like, he got it. With some people, you can tell like, man, this person's always depressed. They're down. They're quiet. Stuff like that. And then you have those that are just like, you know what? They just put a front the whole time. Notice how so many comedians take their lives. These are the people that want to bring laughter to people. They want to bring joy to people. And these are the people taking their lives. So it's not something, yes, overcompensated in the mass. What's up, meme? It was just like, and that's the thing that people don't understand. People don't see that. They don't visualize it. All the stuff that has to do with mental health disorders is not a visualization. You can't always see it. Anxiety disorder. When people have panic attacks, there's not a fucking light or a light switch that goes above their head, panic attack, so that everybody else knows. Not everybody else understands that. Not everybody else sees that. Not everybody knows and understands all these different things. If you got PTSD, it could be for a multitude of things that you got PTSD from. It doesn't necessarily mean that you got PTSD because you got blown up by an IED, you seen one of your buddies pass in front of you, or you seen one of your buddies pass hurt, or you got rolled over in a vehicle, or you got into a thing, or you seen somebody get rolled over by a vehicle, or you experienced going through it. Because a lot of the times people don't understand that a lot of the associations sometimes with PTSD, it doesn't always necessarily happen to you. It's not always a direct effect that it happened necessarily to you. It could be something you witnessed, and that was so traumatic because that stuck with you. So it didn't personally happen to you, but you personally witnessed. You were personally there when it happened. That is a different kind of, it's still trauma. It's still something that your brain remembers, and it's just like, it's weird. It's just like your brain just decided, you remember that time that shit happened? Your brain just pop up out of nowhere. That's what your brain does when it comes to PTSD. You remember that weird ass shit that happened? Yup, and it shit just passed through, and you're like, yo, what the fuck? And it's just like, man, I remember this. And then the crazy part about most of the time with depression and stuff like that, it's the times that you don't even fucking remember because your brain made you fucking forget. Wasn't even that it wasn't there. It was your brain said, bro, we don't even want to think about this shit. This is one of those things in our memory we want to get the fuck away from. People don't associate that. And then all of a sudden it'll be triggered by a smell, something you saw, something someone said. It could just be triggered by something like that. And your brain just snaps back to, boom, I was back in this shit. And then all of a sudden, it's just like, if you don't have somebody to talk to, you don't have somebody to explain that to, it's even more difficult because now you just went through a traumatic episode that you yourself cannot fucking visualize or speak out to somebody to get it out of your head. So what does it do? It just runs in your head again. Keeps on running on your head. It was like, could I have done this? I should have done that. You could have done this. Oh, damn. And then sometimes, not only is it that, it's sometimes the guilt that sometimes is associated with the PTSD, which is one of the bigger parts that people don't talk about. A lot of the times it's the guilt that people go through of witnessing something, being around something happening, and having that thought process just like, man, I could have done better. I could have avoided this. I could have done this to avoid that. And it was just like, people don't understand that and they don't see that. And it's just like, TBI episode there from a tank rollover, been stuck on 7. So TBI, PTSD, depressive disorder, migraines from a rollover, it happens. Pope. A vocational expert evaluation, I don't know why it would be $500 because that should already be in there and it should already be in your file. So you should be able to go through the VA to get that information. Like I said, you shouldn't be paying anything that's already in your service records. If it's in your service records, you should not be paying for anything. It is you just getting that documentation. The new rule change, don't go off of the rule change in August, because that's why I'm going over the stuff that I'm going over today is basically showing you what the proposed rule is. And this proposed rule has come out from February 15th. The proposed rule came out February 15th of 2022. And that's why I'm going to show y'all on this. But I just wanted to make sure y'all see what the evaluation is for mental health disorders currently, so that then we can move on to what it's proposed to be or what it's supposed to change into, possibly by August. There's nothing that says that. They just said the final action date is August. They've been talking about this since February 15th of 2022. And here's a little snippet so y'all can see what I'm talking about. Regulations.gov, AQ82, proposed rule, schedule for rating disabilities, mental disorders, posted by the Department of Veteran Affairs on February 15th, 2022. And this is the same shit people have been trying to scare veterans into, like, oh my God, they're going to make these changes. This is going to happen so soon. It's going to happen now. It's just like, no, the shit has been spoken about for 3 years now. We still haven't had to change. Until this, the Code of Federal Regulations does not get updated and does not get changed, nothing has changed. People have been telling veterans, oh, the rating is going to change for 3 fucking years. And veterans is still like, oh shit, it's going to change. That drives my fucking anxiety up. Let alone, I could only imagine somebody that's going through the process or been going through the process for a while. The thing is, Pope, they're making it more difficult. The VA right now is making it more difficult for veterans to get what they deserve. With all these cuts, all this stuff that's changing, all the way that they want to start evaluating people, it's making it difficult. They want to make it so that you end up paying for the shit. They want to make it so that, no need to thank me, Black. No need to thank me, Black. It's just like, this is just me being honest and just being straightforward. And that's what you have to be. With veterans, you have to be that way because most of the time they only got told stuff in this manner. So this is the only way I know for sure a veteran is going to sink into. Because I can soften it up and some people will understand. But if you get that flashback of being fucking in front of your drill sergeant and your drill sergeant just all that shit in front of you, you going to remember how you listened then, huh? I'm just associating it that way because it makes it easier for me to understand that I know you hearing what I'm saying. You might not like the tone of voice I'm doing it. You didn't like it when your drill sergeant did it, but you were still doing them fucking push-ups when you're told. Same thing. You don't like to hear this shit. I'm telling you to go take care of yourself. You don't want to hear it. That's your personal problem. I ain't got no fucking issue with that. That's not my problem. I'm trying to lead you to that to help you. But if you don't want to do that, that's on you. The thing is the VA, like I said, the VA is trying to take care of the stuff that they know that's there for you. When you try to get increases and stuff like that, you have to have the documentation. If you've been seen, Pope, if you've been getting seen by the VA, you need to request your C file. You need to request all that medical information that you've gone through within the VA and use that as ammunition and use that as documentation for your increase. Because now it's just like, hey, you don't want to write this document? Cool. I'm going to just get all the notes of all the shit you did put in my documents. So either way, you are going to support what I am trying to get an increase for because you wrote down that I had these issues. You don't want to put it in paper, but I'm going to get the documentation of all the evaluations you did while you went over it with me, while I was getting seen by you guys as documentation. Don't let them sucker you into thinking like, oh, you can't, no, I'm not going to do that. That's fine. You already wrote I had this shit. You don't want to put it in an official statement, but if you put it in my official documentation, all does that do? Does SSDI help? If you want to collect SSDI, it does help, Black. You can. It's a different process, though. It's not the same process as going through the VA and getting 100%. The evaluation criteria is different through there. Oh, you have it? I don't have it. I can apply for it. I haven't because I don't know exactly what the process is of doing it. Been through 2 trauma recovery programs and they want social. Pope, use that documentation. Pull that documentation of you going through 2 recovery programs. Pull that information. Because that's already documentation that you need to further your claim. If you've already gone through recovery programs and that's through the VA, that's documented. There's paperwork for that. That's going to show, hey, this is the mental health issues. This is where I'm trying to get this from. This is where it's at. I went through this program and that. If you get your C file and you get your information, that's how it's going to benefit you. That's how it's going to get that. But without any documentation. The VA is like hesitant because for some reason it's just like it's a conflict of interest. It's like, bro, you my fucking doctor. How is it a fucking conflict of interest? I was just like, why? Because you don't want to provide information that you know will help me with my claim. It's not a conflict of interest. That's you not doing your job. But the VA has it that way that it's just like, so that's where people have to understand. All these mental health issues are there. This is the rating criteria. So for anybody that's going for mental health issues, they need to understand that when you get evaluated for mental health, there's 100%, 70%, 50%, 30%, 10%, and 0%. That is what's currently in place right now. So people need to understand that that's what's currently happening right now, that it's those ratings going from a 0 to 10. So 0. So let's break it down, because the thing is the way they're changing it is that they are changing it to a way where they are identifying it as different domains, which, like I said, we're going to go over it. And I'm going to show you the document of the proposed rule change. That's the one here on regulations.gov where it shows that. And once you scroll down through it, it'll show you what the disability rating is. So this is what the disability rating is going to be. But you're going to go and fall into domains. So now there's going to be different domains that you're going to fall under. So I believe it breaks it down to, I think it's like 4 domains. And then the level of impairment of said domain is what's going to get you a percentage. Black Power, I don't know. I don't know if they're going to try to get rid of unemployability. That's something that's in Project 2025. It's in there. People have laid mention to it. The thing is like with anything that has to be changed, this is where you need to check regulations.gov, because this is where they propose rule changes. This is where they propose documentation. Because the thing is if you notice, like on here, you'll see that it's the proposed thing. Then it has document comments. These are literally comments from people or specific people that are saying, hey, this is how I feel about this. So look, this is one of the comments that was put in there. Because I can't move this up anymore. Okay. It says, this would be good for veterans. Paper doesn't always tell you how someone functions. People with service-connected degenerative disc disease and after 10 years fights to only get 20%. Over years, the person is in pain, and the VA seems to be doing the opposite to help these types of veterans. When a person has a degenerating condition, just because pain doesn't show the function of everyday living, the pain and suffering, the mental point of not being able to do everything you used to do because of your service-connected disability. But the VA doesn't recognize the depression from the degenerative disc disease. I say all that to say that the evaluation and compensation amount are so flawed that some people suffer and feel like the government doesn't really care about the veterans at all. That is a statement from somebody that put a comment into these changes. And there's a list of them. There's 826 different comments. I'm not going to go through every single comment, but that's just one of the comments of somebody that works within there, because it shows ID, VA 2022 VBA, and it gives a number of which one it is, how it is. But like I said, that's the one thing. Then you got this, which January 2022, something else was proposed. But these are the ratings, and people don't understand that with these ratings, that's what people get evaluated for. But like that comment just says, you cannot measure the issues with how it is. People don't understand that. People don't understand that with all these mental health issues, these are not issues that are just plain out in sight and visible to everybody. A lot of people tend to talk shit about veterans just like, he don't look hurt. My bad. I forgot I should have had a fucking prosthetic leg to make it seem like that's the only way I should be collecting disability. Because that's the association people get. Because what do? Most people just pay attention to the fucking movies and they see it. Yeah, no, yeah, Black. That's what it is. It was just like, it's okay. Veterans we have a short fuse at times, but then when we lose our fuse, he was like, oh man, this guy's fucking crazy. I was just like, oh, so now I'm crazy. Cause you made me lose my shit. So you irritated me to the point where I used to be calm enough. Now you got me to the point where I lost it. And now you see what PTSD can be. You now see what anxiety can be. Because it's not a fucking sign or a t-shirt that I'm wearing. Like I'm wearing, hey, proud veteran homeowner. I'm not wearing, I do have a shirt that says that though. I do have a shirt that says that. And I wear that every now and then. And it says, I came, I saw, I had anxiety, and I left. I have a shirt that says that. I came, I saw, I got anxiety, and I left. Most people won't understand that. If you don't deal with anxiety, you don't deal with PTSD, you don't deal with the stuff that been caused by the military, you don't understand none of that. She said she got the same shirt. It's like, and that's what it is. People don't understand that. People don't understand and can't visualize those things. They don't see those things. They just assume that, oh, this veteran is 100% disabled. How? They seem to be doing okay. I was just like, you wonder why a lot of veterans don't like fireworks? That's PTSD. Because they were probably in a location where it was getting fucking mortar fire and all they heard was explosions going by near them, close to them, or they got hit by one or somebody that they knew got hit by one. And that shit doesn't leave the fucking thought process when you hear fucking 4th of July shit going off. But people don't make that association, and then it's just like you making associations with things that don't do anything. Or economic situations trigger a lot of it too, because it's stress induced. There's no way to measure stress. Nobody has ever been able to measure stress. They know you stressed out because you look strung the fuck out. I was like, bro, you look stressed. Bro, why you look so tired? I don't sleep, bro. I got mental health issues, but I ain't gonna fucking proclaim it and just say it out there and try to use it as a crutch, because most of us don't want to use it as a crutch. But then at the same time, most people have all this shit here, got no fucking idea how to deal with it. Ain't nobody running around like, yo, I'm fucking depressed. When was the last time you heard that shit out in the street? Tell me, I would love to know where you at that somebody was just running around be like, I'm mentally depressed. I deal with fucking post-traumatic stress disorder. I deal with fucking anxiety. When the hell do you hear that happening? You don't hear shit like that happening. You don't hear people proclaiming it and talking about it and running around the streets, fucking parading. I was like, I got PTSD. Ain't nobody happy about that shit. Nobody's happy about it. I was just like, you deal with it. You go get help because it assists you with getting and dealing with your triggers or figuring out what your triggers are or trying to find ways to cope with the issues. Because the thing is it doesn't leave your brain. It's like that rap song that you learned 20 fucking years ago. You still know that shit. You can't remember what you ate yesterday, but when that fucking song comes out, you know that shit word for fucking word. It's the same thing with PTSD. You don't remember why it happened. You remember it happened, and then you remember the issue that caused it. But that's how you get rated. These are the rating things that people don't understand. But it's depending on your rating and what you have. Because this is very generalized. Each one of them says occupational and social impairment. Occupational and social impairment. Occupational and social impairment. For each one of these, from 10, 30, 50, 70, and 100, all of them say the same thing. Occupational, social impairment. That's what it starts with. But then the next couple of sentences breaks down what else is in there, what else is included, what is it we're talking about. What is it that gives you a 50% rating? Because it says occupational and social impairment will reduce reliability and productivity due to such symptoms as flattened effect, circumstantial, circumlocutory, or stereotyped speech, panic attacks more than once a week, If you don't deal with panic attacks and you don't mention that you are dealing with panic attacks and you ain't got it written down, you already at a 30%. Because at the 50% is when you're getting panic attacks. If it's impairing you that much, panic attacks are hitting you that much, it's there. If they are worse, then you may go to the 70. But the 70 gives you the deficiencies in most areas such as work, school, family relations, judgment, thinking, or mood due to symptoms such as suicidal ideation, obsessional rituals which interfere with routine activities, which is a part of OCD, but they don't associate that part. Then you got speech intermittently illogical, obscure, or irrelevant. So that's why sometimes I think MAGA falls into that, but that's a whole nother topic. We'll leave that for another one. But near continuous panic or depression affecting the ability to function independently, appropriately, and effectively. That is for 70%. Now, if you go to the 100% one, what does it say? Total occupational and social impairment. Due to such symptoms as gross impairment in thought processes or communication, persistent delusions or hallucinations, which goes into, hey, if you are always fucking dreaming about it, if you are always having night terrors, if you're always waking up, or you are seeing things that remember it or cause a fucking thought to just like literally vividly show up in your presence, that's part of it. Persistent danger of hurting self or others. Intermittent inability to perform activities of daily living, including maintenance of minimal personal hygiene, disorientation to time or place, memory loss for names of close relatives, own occupation, or own name. So you having memory issues can lead to getting you to 100%, but you have to have it diagnosed and documented. And that's the thing. So now that's the rating. These are the different ratings you can get. This is the listing. If you want, hold on, I'll put this link in the chat. TikTok, I can't do it because I'm on YouTube. So like I said, if you go on YouTube, you'll be able to get this and you'll see it because I can't push it onto TikTok for some reason. I tried doing it last night when I was on my computer with it, and every time I pulled up the website, it just basically like closed it through TikTok. So with TikTok is just a visual thing. YouTube, it's a visual that you will see what it is I'm talking about, so you can see it directly. So that is Code of Federal Regulations, mental disorders, what the information is there, and what the ratings, the schedule of ratings is, what the evaluation is. Now we're going to go to regulations.gov. So with this one, you can go to regulations.gov. This one is going to take you a bit more time to find the stuff because for me, it was a pain just to get to this site and find it because there's a lot of searching, but you would go to regulations.gov. I'm doing it on a separate tab because it went through a lot just to find it. You would go through dockets. So once you click on dockets, you'll see on the left-hand side, there's like a refined documents, docket results. Excuse me. Which will basically be it's a filter. It's a way of filtering the information. So it's going to have agencies. So you would just go find agencies, scroll all the way to Department of Veteran Affairs, click apply. Now it's going to show everything that has to do with the Department of Veteran Affairs. Now, sometimes they have, let me see what's the other one. Well, no, that's more the Committee of Armed Forces, so that doesn't count. So this is just the Department of Veteran Affairs, so you'll be able to find that. Rules and notices. Then you can section it out and filter it out some more. A major rule, small entities affected, if it's a government jurisdiction's business, energy effects, international impacts, regulatory, deregulatory, all that stuff. And you can go through here. Easiest way to do it, modified date, is newest to oldest, and it'll tell you what the newest ones are. And you can go through there, click on them, and that's basically where they're going to propose any such rules that are going to take effect. So with this rule change of the mental health, it is going to happen through here. So it has to go through regulations.gov because it gets published through regulations.gov so that people understand what's going on and then they see it. Once they see this, it's just like, oh, okay, this is what we're proposing. Then it gives people a time to make comments on it. Basically, sometimes it's like justifications or what people think on these possible rule changes. From there, it just sits and waits around because they keep on doing more studies and stuff like that. Like I said, with mental health, they are doing a lot of different things that is just to try to get to use different things. They are talking about medical marijuana. They are talking about psychedelics. They're talking about those things to try to help treat veterans with it. So that also goes into the rating criteria. Because the thing is you got to remember, you are being diagnosed with something, and then they have to see if it's static or not. If it's static, the VA understands that it's going to get worse or it's not going to improve. So when it comes to PTSD, they know PTSD doesn't just disappear. It's always there. It was just like the coping mechanisms and the stuff may lessen, but that's something that stays in your brain because of how traumatic it was for you. Now, the thing is that's when they start looking at different medications and different things. Because, hey, if somebody using medicinal marijuana is going to help them and is going to get them through the process, they have to put that into the evaluation. Because now it's just like, hey, maybe having this percentage may not be static because they might get better because of this medication. Or, hey, psychedelics helps them forget about all the issues and it makes them 10 times better, makes them react. They have to put that into it because that's part of the evaluation process. They are trying to get you better. The VA wants you to get better to lower your fucking rating. That there's no lie to. They want you to be better so that you're not a disabled veteran. They want you to be closer to what you used to be and what you felt you used to be before it happens. They're not trying to make it that you get worse. They want to make you better. The bad part about it is they make you better, you lose compensation, but you're better. So this is the need, and this is the basically like supplementary information. So it says it here, it was just like document details, comment due date, April 18th, 2022, because they always give you a time frame as to, hey, whatever comments want to be left, some of them are anonymous, some you see it'll be like doctors or whatever the case, they're going to put that information there for you to visualize it and see how they feel. But it's basically they give you that time period to put the comments. How much they put into consideration with those comments, that I can't answer and I can't justify. That is one answer I don't know. But those comments are there. It's there for somebody to learn and understand, like, hey, this is what's going on. So, how it says, supplementary information. The need for updated rating criteria. As part of its ongoing revision on the VASRD, Veteran Affairs Schedule of Rating Disabilities, VA proposes changes to the rating schedule for mental disorders, including general rating formula for mental disorders codified as 38 CFR 4.130, which is, if we go back to that, that's this right here. Schedule of ratings, the 4.130 schedule of ratings, mental health disorder. So basically I'm showing you regulation, what they're talking about, and where it is that you find that information. So now, the proposed changes would update evaluation criteria based on the DSM-5. Medical advances since the last substantive revision of the schedule ratings for mental disorders in 1996. So, the DSM-5 has been in place since 1996. The VA health ratings have not been revised since then, but there is a new criteria and a new manual to follow. So this is part of the reason why they want to make updates, because there has been updates, there has been changes, like, and how it says, there's been different things that have changed. So they're trying to update it to make it up to date, but make it so that it goes in accordance with the DSM-5. Because right now the stuff in the CFR is DSM-4, which is the previous edition. Now they are trying to update it to the new edition so that way you understand what that is. Hold hold on. I forgot to put the board. That's the one thing I forgot to put here. So basically, it goes through it and medical advances. And for anybody that wants to read along and have this for themselves, I'm gonna just go ahead and oh shit, wrong thing. I'm going to copy and paste this so that y'all have it. So if y'all want to look at it and want to read in it and into it more in depth, now you have the link. That'll be the link that'll send you to basically what I'm reading on screen now. On TikTok, I can't. Let me see if I could. Let me see something real quick. What the fuck? Oh, I can't even know right now. Never mind. I ain't even gonna bother with trying to put it on TikTok. But if you swing over to YouTube, you'll be able to see it. So basically, it just has that, and it's just like, hey, the proposed changes. Change the evaluation because it's old and it's from 1996. So that's why they want to make sure to do that. In 2006, the Veterans Disability Benefits Commission asked the Institute of Medicine, now named the National Academy of Medicine, to study and recommend improvements for the VA SRD. The IOM recommended updating the medical content of the rating schedule by placing greater emphasis on a disabled veteran's ability to function in the work setting rather than focusing on symptoms alone. So that's why that's part of the change, is just like they wanted to, the Academy of Medicine basically saw it as, these are things that we are focusing on, but it doesn't tell the full story of what a veteran may be going through. So since we need to evaluate this, we need to make changes so that the evaluation corresponds with what these changes are. And it goes through and it keeps on talking about it. The DSM-5 is a standardized classification of mental disorders for mental health professionals in the United States. The DSM-5 contains every mental health disorder recognized by the American Psychiatric Association and provides detailed diagnostic criteria. As a standard for mental health, the DSM-5 is also used to collect data regarding public health matters involving psychiatric disorders. So that's there. Let me see if we can find where it starts talking about it. Oh, here it goes. So it goes into the current rating schedule and a new framework for evaluation. The current rating schedule for mental disorders provides two separate rating formulas: the general rating formula for mental disorders and the rating formula for eating disorders. The general rating formula for mental disorders bases evaluations on a list of signs and symptoms that characteristically produce a particular level of disability. So basically, they're letting you know that, hey, this is how we got this because certain symptoms amplify what you have. So like I said, if you are a person that is dealing with severe depression, severe whatever it is, you're that person that doesn't take care of themselves hygienically. They don't shower all the time. They're like sitting in the same clothes for days, don't get up and shower. They literally just get up, eat, get back, stay in the same clothes. Stuff like that, those are signs. If you show up and you smell like you haven't showered in weeks to a CMP exam, that's a sign like something is not right with this person. I was just like, it's okay to have a little funk, but when you got a funk, it was just like, all right, something's going on here. This person is not at the right state of mind to be able to actually take care of themselves. So those are differences there that most people don't know and don't interact with. But it says, as noted above, the understanding of disability resulting from mental disorders was evolved with the science. The report recognized that some of the signature injuries, PTSD, incurred in operations in Enduring Freedom, Iraqi Freedom, are not visible or subject to a laboratory test. I'll say that again, because we are about to have an influx of new veterans that were part of Operation Enduring Freedom and Iraqi Freedom. See also Bristol Supra. Instead, they must be evaluated in terms of their functional consequences. In that regard, properly evaluating mental disability requires the ability to recognize and quantify the components that form the diagnosis as well as resulting impairment. It's self-explanatory. While symptoms determine the diagnosis, they do not necessarily translate directly to functional impairment. Thus, we believe that in order to accurately measure functional impairment, VA must consider the frequency and severity of the symptoms and how they impact functioning and performance across a variety of domains. That's where they come up with, and that's when it gets to the proposed general rating formula for mental disorders. So this is like that update that people have been talking about, that everybody's been trying to scare veterans and say, oh, you got to do it now. These things are going to change. Yes, things are going to change. But until we do not have an effective date through the regulation or something posted by the VA or by the regulations.gov saying that, hey, this is the final rule, because these are still proposed rules, it would then change to final rule. Basically, this is what it's finalized. Because the reason why they went from, it was supposed to be a final action date of April of 2025. It now got moved to August of 2025. You've had hearings on psychedelics. You've had hearings on medical marijuana. You've had all these things, and that goes into the rating criteria. But the proposed change. So here's the proposed change that they've been talking about for a long time. There hasn't been another update to this. So basically, this is what they have been speaking on. But the thing is when they actually finalize it and push this thing out, the information can be different. It could have some of these things, but then they can slightly change it. Because you have everybody that's talking about, oh, I got the inside scoop. I got the inside scoop on what? It's already there. Everybody has the inside scoop if they just look it up or know where to look. It was just like people saying they got the inside scoop, but it's just like you don't have the inside scoop on this information, because otherwise it would be more readily available to see. Shit, look, we got a damn memorandum leak that it was 80,000 people going to be fired by fucking August. I haven't seen a memorandum leaked for this. Why? Because this is the same thing they've been reading and looking at for the past 3 years. So keep that in mind. So when it comes to it, it's just like VA as a far practicable upon the average impairments of earning capacity in civil occupations that a veteran will experience due to disability in question. VA recognizes that a veteran's earning capacity after disability is highly dependent upon both occupational and social functioning. Studies have shown that the objective evaluation Wow, I just got a visibility strike on TikTok because I was talking about, I don't know when I said something. Somebody just came in and I guess decided to make a complaint or report me for talking about medical marijuana and psychedelics being used for veterans in studies. This is the world we live in now, right? Free speech. I ain't even say anything crazy and I'm already trying to get restricted on this. So isn't the first time, but here we go. I'm trying to educate people, and then people are trying to restrict me from educating people on what's going on, but that's neither here or there, right? Okay, so where were we at? Predicting 44 visitation. VA would continue to require that a diagnosis of a mental disorder be established in accordance with the DSM-5 as required by 38 CFR 125A, which is which is that part right there. As explained above, the HUDAS 2 assesses an individual's ability to perform life activities based upon 6 domains. 6 domains. This is what they're proposing, but like I said, don't take this as this is what's gonna finalize, because they started with 6. It could end up as 4. It could end up as 3, depending on what they think is valuable or a better way to interpret what a veteran's mental health disorder is and how it affects them. So it is broken down into 6 domains. Areas of functioning. understanding and communicating, the ability to move and get around, caring for oneself, getting along with people, carrying out life activities, and participating in society. However, getting along with people and participating in society can essentially be categorized as one domain of interpersonal interactions and relationships for VA purposes of evaluating a veteran's earning capacity. So like I said, they started off with 6, but they're already saying, hey, you can make this 5 because these two can basically be combined. However, where is it? Therefore, the proposed general rating formula for mental disorders would evaluate the extent of a veteran's disability based upon all evidence of record relevant to the following 5 domains: cognition, interpersonal interactions and relationships, interacting with, which is the combined one, task completion and life activities, navigating environments, and self-care. So this is going to be just like a breakdown of what these are. The domain of cognition would assess a veteran's mental processing involved in gaining knowledge and comprehension. These processes include, but are not limited to, memory, concentration, attention, goal setting, speed of processing information, planning, organizing, prioritizing, problem solving, judgment, decision making, or flexibility and adapting when appropriate. That just sounds like a lot of shit. Domain of interpersonal interactions and relationships would assess a veteran's ability to effectively interact with other people in both social and occupational settings and participate in society. This domain includes both informal, social associational, and formal co-worker supervisors relationships. Task and life activities is ability to manage task-related demands. This domain includes, but is not limited to, the following types of activities: vocational, educational, domestic chores, social, or caregiving. The navigating environment is includes, but is not limited to, the following: leaving the home, being in confined or crowded spaces, independently moving in surroundings, navigating new environments, driving or using public transportation. And self-care is basically the domain which would include the following types of activities, which is hygiene, dressing appropriately, or nourishment. So basically that's basically the explanation of what the ratings were going to be based off. Those are what the domains are, and those are what the domains are going to cover. Now it's assessing the level of functioning. To actually measure occupational and social impairment due to a mental disorder, VA proposes to measure a veteran's functioning with each of the 5 domains discussed above based upon the level of difficulty the veteran experiences in performing tasks associated with the domain and the percentage of time that these difficulties occur. Post-traumatic stress disorder frequency and intensity ratings are associated with factor structure differences in military veterans. A handbook of psychiatric measures. This approach would be outlined in 38 CFR 4126, which will state, which is 126 is evaluation of disability for mental disorders, and it breaks that down there, which will state when evaluating a mental disorder, an adjudicator must consider the intensity and frequency of psychiatric symptoms that bear on the 5 domains discussed above. Then it says that it'll combine the levels functioning in these domains as explained in general rating formula. VA would delete paragraph of current section 4126, which provides the VA will consider social impairment but will not assign an evaluation solely on the basis of social impairment, as obsolete. So basically they're saying that they're going to take that part of it and they're going to remove that part which is basically obsolete, where they're saying that they are not going to solely basis on the social impairment. Because now that's why you have the 5 domains, which is going to be a part of it, saying like, hey, this is a part that is going to cause impairment. We are going to pay attention to this now. As to the proposed general rating formula, there will be a 100%, 70, 50, 30, and 10%. Based on the severity of impairment in all 5 domains. To measure the severity of an individual domain, VA will first evaluate the intensity of impairment in that domain. Intensity refers to the difficulties in functioning, interference with completing tasks. The levels of intensity for each domain will be none, mild, moderate, severe, or total. None, mild, moderate, severe, or total. So you will now have 5 domains and you will have 5 levels of intensity, basically. 5 different domains that we already covered and 5 different levels of this is how bad it is. And this is a breakdown so that people understand what they are. None, no difficulties. Mild, slight difficulties or one or more aspects of the domain that do not interfere with tasks, activities, or relationship. Moderate, clinically significant difficulties in one or more aspects of the domain that interfere with tasks, activities, or relationships. Severe, serious difficulties in one or more aspects of the domain that interfere with tasks, activities, or relationships. Total, profound difficulties in one or more aspects of the domain that cannot be managed or remediated, incapable of even the most basic tasks with one or more aspects of the domain. Difficulties that completely interfere with tasks, activities, or relationships. That is how you are going to be evaluated. That's the proposed way of how you're going to be evaluated and how they're going to go through these situations now. So that way people understand that it's not going to just be, it's going to be on what you say, but it's also going to be on the things that are shown that you can't do. So when you've been going to the therapist and stuff like that, what's in your notes is going to be part of that documentation. If you are saying you can't go outside, if you are saying that you have to be put on medication or you never had medication and now you're on medication because of this, because it impairs you to do this, it's severe, it's moderate, that's how they're going to identify it now. It is no longer going to be the generalized way how the rating scale basically had it from total occupational and social impairment and just having it that you had to hit these specific things to get that rating. So the fact that you had those specific things, that's what caused you to get that thing. Now it's, hey, you got all these, you got 5 domains, you got 5 different levels to them. Depending on the level, that's how you're going to get it. So then they go down and they break down and talks about it in a bit more. But then this is the part where the ratings is going to be influenced. So it's going to be a point scale. So what they're going to do is you're going to have a level of impairment, which is 0 through 4. Because if you have none, it's just going to be 0. So it's not going to count as a point, but it's still a designation. 1 through 4 is the amount of points you will get through that. So no difficulty, 0. Mild impairment, 1. Moderate impairment, 2. Severe, 3. Total, 4. Assigning a disability rating. So this is going to happen, and then this would go into the M21-1, and it will be updated in the M21-1 also, so that when VA raters are evaluating you, they are following this criteria. And the criteria basically being, once an adjudicator determines the level of impairment of functioning for each domain caused by a mental disorder, VA would assign an evaluation of 10, 30, 50, 70, or 100% for the disorder based upon the numerical value, for each domain and the number of domains affected. VA would assign the following ratings based upon the following criteria. So this is what being evaluated for mental health will now become. It will become that you will have a minimum 10% rating. If you are filing basically for any kind of mental health, but you don't have too much documentation, you don't have anything else to be in depth and provide it, you are going to be at 10%. So you are still going to get a rating. The whole, that's how you know the fucking military know they fucked you up. They're like, look, we can't even say 0%. We know we did something. That's how you know it's an issue, when they're like, look, there's not even going to be a 0% anymore. If you meet the criteria and it's service connected, you minimum at least getting 10. We're not even going to service connect you and not give you anything. We're going to service connect you and you're going to get fucking 10% if you get service connected. That already tells you, all right, some issues have happened. We know you're a veteran. We know you went through something. We know that if you claim any mental health disorder, you got something. You join the military, you leave with something. It may not be crazy drastic. It may not be total, but we know you left with something. That's basically what the VA is telling you. We know you left with something. So there it goes. So now, like I said, it's evaluating it off of the different domains. You have 5 different domains. High score is 20. I hope you don't get a fucking 20. I'm hoping. I'm wishing you don't get a 20. But that's basically high score, a 20. Meaning you got 5 different domains and you had total impairment that occurs 25% or more of the time for all 5 domains. We're not trying to hit high scores here. We're just trying to get the scores that we know and explain off the documentation you have. This is where that documentation is important. This is where that therapist notes, that counselor notes, that VA provider notes, all those notes will be in part to either, they will dictate what you end up with. Because you talking about it, you going through it, that's also what's going to help with the evaluation. Because, yeah, you're going to have your CMP exam, which is going to be like a mental health professional asking you questions and stuff like that. They're going to go through the domains and ask you that stuff. But then it's also going to be what's in your records. So, hey, if you are a service member that decides to file for mental health issues and when you're there, you don't explain it well, you don't talk about it well, that happens. But then now you have the documentation that also provides that. So it has something that will contribute to that issue. So now you will have documentation and what you said through the thing for them to compare and contrast and be like, okay, he didn't say this here, but in his records, he shows that he's been talking about this level of impairment. He's been talking about having moderate impairment in the social aspect one, or what was the other ones? Basically all the different aspects that's what you're showing you have. That's what it's going to come out to. So it's either you had 25% or more in task completion and life activities, whatever it is. So that's how you're going to get your numbers. So let's say you get all straight 1s. If you get a 1 in 2 or more domains, you get a 30%. So if you get 1s all across the board, you'll get 30%. If you get a score of 2 in any one domain, you're at 50. If you have a 3 in one domain, that would put you at 70. If you have a 4 in one or more domains, that would give you 100%. So that's why people are saying that going through the process with mental health will probably be easier for people to get a higher percentage, because now you are going off of these domains, and depending on how they consider the intensity and frequency, that is how you are going to get your score. So like I said, if you get a 4 in one or more domains, you are basically going to get an 100%. So for people that have an issue with, let's say, cognition, you can't problem solve, you can't work in an office, you can't handle like finance or something like that, whatever, however severe it is, and you get a 4, you're at 100%. Or if it goes to interpersonal interactions and relationships, if it's affecting your marriage, that's something you need to speak on. If it's affecting you that bad that you're having fights, you're filing for divorce, or you've gone through multiple divorces because of your inability to communicate or your inability to control your anger or whatever the case may be, that's a different rating. That'll be a certain number. Task and completion activities, vocational, educational, domestic chores, social, or caregiving. If you can't take care of yourself or take care of somebody else that you're supposed to, that's part of the issue. Navigating environments, leaving the home. If you a homebody, which I am, I don't really go out much. Being in or confined to crowded spaces, how you act, how you react, how it is that, hey, I'm here. Or like I said, going to a restaurant and having the anxiety that you can't even enjoy the food because you're just paying attention to who's coming into the place, who's leaving, where the entrance at, why this person looking at me, why is this person doing it? Like stuff like that, that's part of that. Same thing with self-care, hygiene, dressing appropriately, or nourishment. If you losing a ton of weight and stuff like that, and you ain't feeding yourself correctly, that's part of it. But you got to remember, not everything is going to be associated with it, because the thing is if you don't have a diagnosis for certain things or certain cause for certain things to explain it, medical providers are most likely just going to try to associate it with something that does make sense. Like I had somebody ask about sleep apnea yesterday. If you have sleep apnea and they feel that you are obese, they might try to say, well, the military didn't cause it. It's because you obese that you need a sleep apnea machine. In cases like that, is that correct? No. Is it true? No. But if you didn't provide the evidence to show why you had sleep apnea or how you got it, they're going to try to associate it to something to basically explain to them, hey, the reason why we didn't give you this rating was because you didn't have anything that showed that the military caused it or you had it in service. That's where they get the, we found positive evidence, but we didn't give you service connection. That's where that comes from. Annoying as shit as it is, but that's where it comes from, where it's just like, hey, this is the information you provided. Don't match up. That's what you get. It doesn't show you did it in service. It doesn't have anything to do with your military time. You have it, yes. You are diagnosed with it, yes. Your sleep study shows, yes. But it's not military connected, so we can't associate that. So we're going to say you probably got it because of something else. This is the more logical reason why you got it. As reflected in this formula, veterans who have more severe impairment in more domains will receive higher ratings. Veterans with less severe impairment in less domains will receive lower ratings, obviously. But notably, a numerical value of 4 in just one domain will warrant a 100% rating, and a numerical value of 3 in any one will warrant a 70% rating. The criterion should generally lead to more generous compensation for veterans than the current rating formula, which requires total occupation and social impairment for a 100% rating and deficiencies in most areas for a 70% rating. VA proposes to eliminate the current rating formula's provision for a non-compensable rating and to provide a minimum rating of 10% for all mental disorders. That's why I say, like, all this stuff is there. This is what they are basically trying to change it to. That's why you hear a lot of people when they've been talking about it, like, hey, the best thing that's going to probably happen is that, hey, more veterans are going to get more ratings now because of this, because it's going to be more beneficial for somebody to get ratings, because now, as compared to it being total occupational and social or deficiencies, it's, hey, you have these 5 domains, you have these 5 evaluations, or not evaluations, you have these 5 levels. Depending on how high the level is for any one of these, you will get it. So that's why they're saying that it may be more beneficial for veterans to file their mental health issues once this is out. Because, hey, if you've already had a 4 or you had some sort of total occupational or social impairment before anything happened, it'll now suffice as, hey, you had an issue totally with this. That is now a 4. That's going to get you 100%. Now, keep in mind that it's not just going to be a fucking cakewalk, because I know a lot of people are going to think, oh, I'll be able to get a 4 in. No, there's going to still be criteria for it. And that's where the part where we don't know what that is. Because, yes, mild impairment at a frequency or moderate impairment that occurs less than 25% of the time. How do they justify that? How is that explained? How is that observed? That's the part that, that's the fine tuning print that they have to do. That's what they do with these evaluations and these proposed rules. Because yes, this is what we proposed. At the end, they could just be like, in August, they could be like, yeah, we proposed these changes after evaluating them, after the past 3 years of going over this and looking at it, looking at the DSM, how it's improved, looking at medicinal issues that is going to help people. Now let's see how we rate this criteria. It's still going to be 0 through 4, but it's going to go under evaluation criteria for you to get that 0 through 4 of a rating. So that's what that is. And then it just breaks it down, notes to the proposed general rating formula. It breaks that down, technical amendments, and it just goes through the process. The authority tells you who it is, what they plan. The revision reads as follows. And then it tells you what they plan to amend. So amend by that, republishing it for entry. And this is for the eating disorders. Gives you a breakdown of this is what it would look like. So basically, they also give you a rundown of, hey, this is what it is going to look like if this gets approved. This is what the CFR should look like if it gets approved. Mind you, like I said, this has been going for 3 years now. So it has this information. It does not mean that that is going to be solid on that information. It does not mean that this is what's going to happen automatically. Worldwide J, I appreciate you too, my man. I was like, so this is the part where, hey, if the change does go through, this is what the CFR is going to look like. It's going to say, hey, we're amending this, revising paragraph A, removing paragraph B, and redesignating paragraph C and D as paragraphs B and C. This is what it's going to look like. Evaluations of disability for mental disorders. When evaluating a mental disorder, the rating agency shall consider all the evidence of record relevant to the intensity and frequency of psychiatric symptoms that bear on the following domains: cognitive, interpersonal interactions and relationships, task completion and life activities, navigating environments, and self-care. Let me read that first part again. The rating agency shall consider all the evidence of record relevant to the intensity and frequency of psychiatric symptoms. All evidence, meaning if you are filing for an increase or you are filing for all of it, provide all evidence, provide those thought processes and all that stuff. Annette, thank you for stopping by as always. Thank you for being a member. Thank you for always supporting. Have a great rest of your week. As always, thank you for being here. I can't say that enough. But yeah, that's what it is. All information, meaning all your records, meaning all those therapy sessions that you can get information, because they should be writing stuff down. They should be annotating it. If you are going through a community care, but it was referred to you by the VA, you are probably sending that documentation to the VA from that provider, and that provider is updating it and putting it in there, which then shows up as just like, oh, Cruz came and he said he had this. Cruz said he's dealing with that. Cruz says he's dealing with this. It's just like, that's all notated. That's all in the writing. So when you go to produce it and you go to talk about it, it was just like when they ask you, it's just like, yeah, I'll deal with this, I'll deal with that. I've said this and I've said that. It's already in your record. Shit, if it's useful as a reminder to you, you print that out and you just reread what you've said before, because most of the time you forget half of the shit you went through. Then that's for that. Then amend for 130 by republishing it, adding immediately following DC 9440 the entries for 9520 and 9521, which don't exist here. Well, you would have to go all the way to the bottom. And see, it stops at 9918. And here's just the appendix when you get to that point. So that's what it's saying. That's there. That's why it says it's gonna add the stuff. So that's why when you see it, when they have diagnostic codes and stuff, that's where they add to, subtract, and make it that way so that you have that information. This is the general rating formula. So it's a schedule of rating disorders, mental disorders, what they'll add: anorexia nervosa, bulimia nervosa, chronic adjustment disorder. It'll be labeled differently because now it is a different criteria that it falls under the DSM for explaining that. So that's the one way of doing it. Then the general rating formula for mental disorders, this is the breakdown so that it explains the same thing that we just went over. Minimum rating of 10, level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. Depending on the numbers you get, that's what your rating will be. Then it gives you a more in-depth breakdown of what it is, what it goes through. So this is the criteria that I was saying that they're going to tell you and explain, because at the beginning part of this, they just explained the simple parts. They didn't explain everything. So that's why it's just like it's very important for people to understand that this is information that's there. Breaking this down so that you have that information. But like I said, this is proposed. This hasn't been finalized. Most of the time, if it's been like this for this long and they haven't updated it, most of the time that's the thing. Most of the time, that's what it is. It's not always that way. Like I said, this is what they have proposed. This is what they've had in the works for the past 3 years. But some of these may get tweaked. Some of these may change slightly. Where it says, hey, slight difficulties in one or more tasks of cognitive functioning that do not interfere with task activities or relationships, it could just be switched to activities. Or it could just be tasks and activities. So that's why I say it's just like, this is basically like the template of what they're planning to do, what it's considered, what the domains are, how they evaluate the domains, and putting it there. Hold on, let me see if I can highlight this one. I should be able. Let me see if this is working. Hopefully it does. Fuck, it's not working. Did I not add it? Hold on. Give me 1 second, Grip. So I started recording, but it didn't show it. So I have to. What the fuck is this? There we go. I got it to actually show up. Now I got to put it on this one, though. Oh, shit. Don't tell me my computer just fucked up. Okay. It didn't fuck up. Whew. I thought it was going to get messed up. Give me 1 second so I can put this up. There you go. Oh, hold on. I'm fixing this as we go, y'all, because I'm still working on getting this up and running. So that way you can see the question that was asked. May have to change it up some, though, but. So that was the question. The question that was asked was, so do you think it's going to be easier or harder for vets to get mental health claims if this passes through? I think it's going to be easier for veterans. I think it will be a simpler way of providing it, because now it's giving you a breakdown of the things that actually do affect you as a veteran. So I do think it's going to be easier. The back part about that is that I think it's going to be stricter, though. So yes, it's going to give you an opportunity to get a higher rating, but I also think it's going to be more strictly evaluated. Because the thing is that frequency part, that's going to be the criteria part of it. frequency, because they are talking about the frequency of what it happens. So that is you being able to dictate and be able to document and show frequency, how many times it happens. So that's where I think it's going to be difficult. I think it's going to be easier if you have the documentation, but if you don't have the documentation, it's going to be the same thing. Well, documentation always is the thing, but it's just providing and proving the frequency of how you have this impairment. Because how do you provide the frequency of these impairments the whole time is the biggest thing. How do you provide that? How do you show that? How do you highlight the fact that, hey, I deal with this. I deal with, let's say, clinically significant difficulties in one or more aspects of cognitive functioning that interfere with tasks, activities, or relationships. It says moderate impairment that occurs 25% or more of the time, or severe impairment that occurs less than 25% of the time. How do you show that when it comes to relationships? I was just like, you may argue with your wife or your spouse or your husband, whichever one you're arguing with. How do you show that it's frequently causing these issues? How do you put that in writing? How do you put that in paperwork? Yeah, I argued with my wife yesterday. I argued with her 2 weeks ago. You see what I'm saying? So it's just like, how do you completely put that in writing so somebody would understand that you are frequently going through this issue? That's where I think is going to be the tough part. Where, yes, veterans may get better ratings, but the thing is like, look, if the problem that veterans have now is not having proper documentation, how are you going to properly document this? That's where it's just like, I feel that it may be tougher for veterans because of that fact, that it's just like, how do we properly showcase and how do we properly highlight this aspect right here? How do we show any of this? Serious difficulties in one or more aspects of interpersonal functioning that interfere with tasks, activities, or relationships, even with accommodations or assistance. That means you have to have documentation of documentation, basically. And most veterans have a fucking problem doing that. But like I said, that's also if you are being seen by the VA and your therapist is putting that into the notes, that may show the frequency. Because if you are going to get seen and every time you go get seen, you are talking about this impairment, then that impairment may show that you are dealing with it more times. But if you go and the first time you talk to your therapist, you talk about it, you see what I'm saying? He just said, you see, that's where it's just like I said, I don't like taking shit at face value. I don't take shit at face value. When you look at something, you have to dissect it because there's always a deeper thing to it. I don't take things at face value, so I always try to look more in depth and try to think about it in a different perspective that somebody else probably hasn't looked at it. Yes, if it sounds like this, the way it sounds, this shit sounds great. But how do you show the frequency? How do you notate the frequency? How do you document the frequency? You see what I'm saying? So it's just like, you can show total impairment, but how do you show how frequently you totally impaired? How do they justify that? I was just like, yeah, I go to the grocery store, but I don't go to the fucking grocery store every day. I go when shit is needed in the house, and I don't like doing it, but I know I need to because we ain't got food in the house. Is that part of the stuff I need to be evaluating? Is that part of the frequency showing that I have issues when I go and step outside when I do? You see what I'm saying? So that's the part that is just like, off just reading this shit sounds amazing. But then when you start looking into the weeds of it, that's what I said with the criteria. It was just like, this sounds good, but then you have to look at the fine print of it all. You have to pay attention to like, hey, this is going to change how, this is going to be evaluated how, because it's just like, it's going off of the intensity and the frequency. An impairment that occurs less than 25% of the time. How are they breaking down 100% of the time? What does 100% of the time look like? You see what I'm saying? So it's just like, it leaves a lot of gray area, and gray area usually causes a lot of problems because then it's up to a VA rater to decide on gray area. I don't like fucking gray area. I want you to be able to tell me what's this, what's that. Because that gray area is where it's going to be like, well, you know, what's 100% of the time? 100% of the times means that this is happening to you every day, all the time. Or is it not? Or is it on certain episodes or certain things that trigger these things? It's just like, that's why it's like a more in-depth explanation is going to be needed to understand that, because it doesn't have that there. Self-care may include, but is not limited to, the following types of activities: hygiene, dressing appropriately, or taking nourishment. Slight difficulties in one or more aspects, and it just says the same thing. Slight difficulties in one or more aspects of self-care that do not interfere with tasks, activities, or relationships. If your ass ain't showering all the time, that's part of it. But what's the criteria? Is it you got to shower 3 times a day? You got to shower 2 times a day? Are you good with showering 1 time a day? Or, hey, you skipped the shower for a day or two because you were just too tired. Does that count? Like, you see what I'm saying? It's just like a lot of people go through different instances. And if that instances is not in this writing, it leaves a lot open to fucking, what's the favorite thing in the regulations? Commander's discretion. Remember that bullshit? Yeah, you remember that bullshit. Commander's discretion. It's going to end up being VA discretion. Well, the VA don't think that you need a shower 3 times a day. Some people do it. Some people don't. Some people shower once in a day. Some people shower twice in a day. What is the VA saying that that's how hygiene is being affected? Is it we're watching? I'm being dead serious, though. I'm being dead serious, though. Where does it say what that is? What is the requirement? How many times does the VA think you should be showering? You don't know. So how do you tell me that that's 25% of the time? You see what I'm saying? That's when it becomes kind of tricky to get that in there, to get that explanation, because it's just like 25% of the time it affects you. 25% of the time may mean you don't shower all the time. If you rarely shower, 25% of it could be that one time you did shower. You see what I'm saying? So that becomes a very slippery slope where you can't understand that, because there's nothing that says this is the requirement. This is what we mean by this. So that's why it's just like the fine tuning of this is what's going to change a lot for people. Like, yes, it does sound better, but at the same time, frequency. That's the part that caught my attention. The frequency part. The intensity can be shown, how intense it is. But that's also in your documentation saying how intense it is for you. How intensely do you get panic attacks? How often do you get them? What's the criteria for it? Because remember, in the CFR, it was what, 50%? You have to get panic attacks more than once a week was for 50%. So if you're getting 50%, if you're getting one panic attack a week, does that consider itself as 25%? But 25% of what level? You see what I'm saying? That's the only thing. That's what I say veterans is just like, you gotta pay attention, gotta look at the stuff that they're trying to change. Because the thing is this sounds great for applying. The fact that you automatically going to get a disability rating of at least 10% is a good thing. The fact that you can be at a 2 and you're going to get a 50% rating. Literally, I'm at a 50% rating right now. And under this, I would probably get a 70 or 100 on or 100% on somebody. So I would be able to file for an increase if I really needed to. I don't need to because I'm 100% P&T, but that's what's there. But that's what I'm saying is just like, what's 25% of the time? What do they justify as 25% of the time of dealing with this issue? And that's why I said, like, personal hygiene. Some people like to shower, some people don't. You went through basic training and there was always those 1 or 2 motherfuckers that did not like to fucking shower. Always had one. I don't care what basic training you went to, you always had that one person that did not believe in fucking showering all the time. Even after coming out the field or whatever, they ain't believe in fucking showering. So does that give them a 4? You see what I'm saying? So that's a difficult explanation and a difficult thing to get through when it's just like, there's no criteria stating what it is and how this is going to affect you. Griff, you know what I'm talking about. If you served in the military and you went through basic training, you had that one person in your bay that did not want to fucking shower. But like I said, for that person, they didn't like to shower. So you can't consider it 25% for a person that didn't like to fucking shower if they don't like to shower. You can't say it's a fucking hygiene issue that is being caused by this because they never like to shower in the first place. You see what I'm saying? So identifying with 25% impairment is going to be a whole different kind of level. And that's why it's just like, it's good that it's being changed because it's being updated to what the regulation and the stuff is now. So that's the good part about it. The problem is that it still leaves a lot of wiggle room for them to be like, well, it's not that bad. You showered at least in a day. You showered. You probably needed 2, but you did 1. So it doesn't impair you that bad that you couldn't shower at least once. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's a slippery slope just thinking about that way. But hey, I do think it's going to be benefiting veterans because the thing is with a lot of this stuff, if you have the documentation already in place, it's going to help a lot of veterans get stuff. Because if you've already been seen by a therapist, a psychiatrist, or anybody with any mental health issues, you're going to have that documented and you're going to be able to provide that information to show what it is. Then it's deciding on what they classify as severe impairment that occurs 25% or more of the time, or total impairment that occurs less than 25% of the time. Because look at the justification that they have between the two. And that's where it gets difficult. But so that's why it's just like people need to pay attention to it and they need to see. This is where it becomes important. This is the part where it's just like, hey, you need to be aware about it. You need to pay attention to it. This is the identifying factors. At the end of the day, documentation is still the most important thing that you need, and you have to make sure you are providing in any of this. But now you need to make sure that the frequency is being implemented and shown through the process. Because if it's not, you're going to run into problems. And that's where you're going to have the issues. But that's what I got for this week, y'all. I'll keep looking for seeing any updates because we're supposed to get an update. The final action date is April of 2025. They didn't put a specific day on it, but it's supposed to be April of 2025. I have to find the other website that I had that information on, that showed like the actual documentation. I can't remember. I had it. It was off a Reddit page. I know I had it on there. Yeah, I just have to figure out where exactly that was. But that documentation shows that the final action date is for April of 2025, but that is for hearing and sleep apnea. I'll try to find also the proposed rule changes and stuff like that for those things, which it would still be through here. It would just be searching for it and trying to make sure to find it. Let's see, sleep apnea. Well, my keyboard would be awake. Presumptive service connect for restaurants. There's another one, a rule, final rule that got implemented. Well, same thing. You would have to filter this out and put it by Department of Veteran Affairs. It gives you 27 different options. Proposed rule schedule for rating disabilities, ear, nose, throat, and audiology disabilities, respiratory system. So that's this one. AQ72. If my computer would decide to load it. There we go. So this will show the respiratory issues. It's the same thing. Gives you the diagnostic codes, what they plan on changing it, the authority, schedule of ratings, what it would change, auditory nose, what the hearing sounds would be, like depending on how bad your hearing is, that's what you would get. Diseases for the ears, ear, nose, and ratings. If you deal with vertigo, the different vertigos, all that stuff, that's also here. I'll put this in the here. So if in case y'all want to look at that also, y'all can go ahead and look at that and just look at those are the proposed changes that they're trying to and may possibly happen. Like I said, the definitions and all this stuff will be changed, and they will make sure to make it a more enforced thing so that people are aware of it. Where is sleep apnea? Sleep apnea syndromes. They still have it. Treatment ineffective as determined by sleep study, unable to use treatment due to comorbid conditions and without end, incomplete relief. And it just has it like this. But like I said, it's going to be more in-depth, and they're going to make specific changes to it. So that's what we have to pay attention to. Once we pay attention to that and we learn that, that's what it goes. But do I think it's going to help people? Yes, but it's just as long as they have the documentation to support what they're doing, which is the biggest thing. So as always, this has been our Veteran Awareness Workshop. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Hopefully people gain some knowledge from that, gain some perspective as to what the possible changes may be. And it's not that this is concrete yet, but that is what the proposed rules are. That's what they are proposing. So it's just waiting to see if it gets proposed, if it gets finalized. And then from there, once it's finalized and it becomes that it is an actual rule, then from there, it will be implemented into the Code of Federal Regulations, but then there will be an effective date towards the Code of Federal Regulations. Once that code is in there and that information is there, it will be provided and it will say what the effective date is. Then from there, what veterans need to realize is that once that effective date is there, if you file an intent to file after said date, from there, you will go under that new criteria. If you file prior to that, you are still going to fall under the previous criteria. So depending on how you want to look at it and depending how your paperwork is, how strong your claim is and stuff like that, that's how you go about it. Appreciate you, Babs. But that's basically how it's going to go. That's how it's going to be determined. That's how you're going to figure it out. And that's how you're going to get your information. So once you clarify that, and if, hey, you feel that your documentation is going to be strong enough with the new criteria, you can wait. But there's nothing in the criteria that says yet that it's automatically going to be inserted on August. That is just the final action date that they proposed. It was supposed to be this month upcoming in April, but they changed it to August. So there may be changes. And like I said, once it gets published, that's going to be exactly what they go off of. So this is the proposed rule. It's been 3 years that this has been proposed, and they've been pushing it back and back and back with upcoming changes and possible fine tuning that they want to do. So like I said, this is just proposed. Just be aware of that. Just know that this is the possible changes. Once it's concrete, we will know. I'll push it out. I'll definitely make a video on it, but that way people have an awareness. So as always, be good to one another. Take care of one another. Love one another. And look out for one another. I always mix those up in all different ways, but y'all get the gist of it. Stay marvelous while doing it. I appreciate y'all. Just Cruz signing out for the Veteran Awareness Project. another Sunday workshop. See you next Sunday, and just subscribe to the YouTube channel. I do pop-up streams every now and then when I got the time. But yeah, appreciate y'all as always. Take care. Peace.